help.
The tiny houses have been removed, but the homeless problem remains.
I would like to see a safe haven for them, a place for them and for the community.
Councilmember Joe Buscaino has unveiled an 8-point plan to tackle San Pedro's homeless problem in a town caught between the rights of its residents and the rights of its homeless. And we'll have more on the plan in the second part of our special report next week. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Hi, I'm Shannon Lamert Park. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Johnson, Soboroff, Figueroa Villa, and Kim are present, and we have a quorum.
Thank you.
Number one on the agenda, consent agenda items.
Do we have any comment cards on any of the consent items?
No, sir.
Would any of my fellow commissioners like to pull any of the consent agenda items?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion to approve items 1A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item number 2, report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning, Chief.
Significant incidents on Friday the 16th at 8 p.m. We had an officer-involved shooting at 7th and San Julian involving Central Bureau undercover narcotics officers involved in a narcotics investigation. There were no hits and no injuries, and the investigation is ongoing. Obviously, over the weekend, the department was involved in trying to detect any nexus between the incidents on the East Coast, the bombings on the East Coast, and the incident in Minnesota with the City of Los Angeles. We had conference calls Sunday with local and federal partners, and then on Monday morning with our national federal partners and multiple other local jurisdictions. There is no tie-in, no nexus, no connection between the City of Los Angeles and either of these events. Out of an abundance of caution, of course, we have been re-emphasizing not only our deployment at high-profile events such as the Emmys and the Rams game, but also in locales that are much less obvious targets. I believe that the thing that will help the City of Los Angeles the most and nationally is what has been said by the presidents, what's been said by our former Secretary of State, what's been said by the Secretary of Homeland Security, and that is that the population, if they see something, should say something. And we debuted the iWatch app, and I think that is of immense importance in preventing exactly the kind of activities that occurred on the East Coast. So that's the message of the department. I've been on multiple media outlets pushing that message, and we'll continue to do that. Crime picture, this has been the 10th straight week where we have reduced violent crime. Went from a high of a little over 16% at the beginning of the summer to a 12% increase compared to last year today. So those are good indications that our strategies are working. During that same time period, we've also gone into a negative on homicides and a negative on numbers of victims shot. We're at just under a 2% reduction in both those categories, so that's significant progress. Compared to last year, rapes are down just under 6%, robberies are up just about 12%, aggravated assaults, primarily driven by the reporting of brandishing incidents, which don't involve injuries, are up 14.3%. Burglaries, particularly residential burglaries, are down 4.9%. Motor vehicle thefts, as is a trend throughout the state, are up significantly, 15.4%. And burglary theft from vehicles, which are somewhat connected crime, are up 9.6%. Thefts in general personal other thefts are down 2%. Total Part 1 crime picture for the City of Los Angeles compared to last year is a 5.7% increase, and increase in violent crime, an increase in gang crime of 5.3%. Categorical uses of force are down 13.6% compared to our 4-year average, and officer-involved shootings are down just under 5% compared to our 4-year average, and down significantly from our high of last year. Traffic collisions are up in the city of Los Angeles, as they are nationally, 8.5%. Driving under the influence, collisions are down. Hit and runs are up about 4%. Motor vehicle versus pedestrians, which of course are an extremely dramatic and dangerous type of accident, are up down 4.4%. And bicycle-involved collisions are down 18%. We have 9,811 sworn personnel on payroll, and just 529 civilian vacancies, with 2,748 civilian personnel assigned. Just over 400 reserves, 58 chaplains, 284 volunteers, specialist volunteers, and 7,861 young people in our cadet program. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Okay. Let the record reflect Commissioner McLean Hill is now present. And we do have 2 comment cards, sir.
Okay, please call the comments.
We have Jerry Dietrich and Prentice Jenkins.
Hi, my name is Jerry Dietrich, and I'm with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. I would like to once again talk about Chief Beck. We're only given 2 minutes to speak, and this issue requires longer than 2 minutes. As you may remember, last week I talked about 3 instances that show that he must go. They illustrate 4 main reasons he should be fired. Number 1 is the lawsuits. Chief Beck has been unable to reel in his people. He alone has cost the city major money. I realize that lawsuits exist, and they always have existed, always will, but under this man, they have continued unabated. Beck cannot be told how to respond to an incident. He feels he is above disciplinary boards, internal affairs, etc. He feels he is in charge of, and he will run his department accordingly. The 3rd instance is cronyism. I really don't need to explain that, but he just wants to please his buddies. That's all he wants. And in closing, I'd like to say that he shows complete lack of respect for this commission. He even shows contempt. So I will repeat, Chief Beck must go.
Prentice Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins.
Good morning.
Good morning. President Johnson, Vice President Soboroff, Chief, Board. Prentice Jenkins, City Life newsletter publisher, activist since 1991. You know, I was typing out a statement about how terrorists are going to hit us. And as I was typing, I typed that they're going to try and hit our train stations, they're going to try and hit our malls. And guess what came on the news as I was typing? Someone had just hit the mall. Not here, but somewhere else. They hit a mall. Minnesota, yeah. And also, someone blew up a bomb near a train station. Listen, we're not going to be impervious to this. They're going to try us. And I ride that train. So the most important thing is when you see something, say something. You know, I did that 3 years ago at the train station. I saw a suspicious package, called because they said, see something, say something. The woman told me, oh, can you go over and look to see what it is? It was a bomb. What the hell? I said, no, isn't that your job? He said, well, you know, we can't really come out for something like that. So I left on the train. What would have happened if it was really a bomb? I've actually saw something and said something. And so it's important, folks, don't mess around. They're going to try and hit us. And they're going to try and hit us hard. And it's going to be at that train station. And it's going to be at the malls where it's wide open. Okay? And, Mr. Soboroff, you're right. All those people look like they had the same father. And their father was Donald Trump. I read your statement.
We have no other comment cards on this item. We're on item number 3, regular agenda items.
Thanks. Before we move to the regular agenda items, I did want to make a public acknowledgement and public thank you to Commissioner Kathleen Kim. After 3 years of volunteering her time on this commission, today is her last meeting. We had a very nice private reception for her this morning, where a number of people had an opportunity to say some very nice words and thank for her service. I want to publicly acknowledge it and thank you very much for your service. Your contributions here will be felt long after you leave, particularly with respect to the homelessness issues that we deal with and dealing with our immigrant population. So thank you very much, and we will very much miss having you here.
Thank you, President Johnson and my co-commissioners for the thoughtful cooperation we've had in pushing our reform its agenda, and members of the LAPD and the command staff for working with us and being responsive to those efforts, and then the Inspector General's office for their thorough work facilitating those efforts and in identifying issues that should be addressed, and then also members of the commission staff and Richard T. Fank for guiding us and helping us with strategies. And I appreciate the opportunity to have, in any way that I have, shaped policies, and then also with respect to immigrants' rights. I appreciate the department's openness to my involvement on those issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now on item number 3A, Department's verbal update and discussion relative to the status of the recommendations contained in the Inspector General's report, 10-year overview of categorical use of force investigations, policy, and training, update on status of recommendations dated April 27, 2016.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. George Villegas from the Office of Administrative Services, Bill Murphy from PTSB, and Luann Pinnell from Director of Training and Education for us.
You might want to pull the microphone just a little bit closer.
So we've made significant progress on the 12 recommendations that I'm glad to report, pleased to report. So I'll go over each one briefly and kind of give a status update, and then indicate how we'd like to proceed as we move forward so that we can have all of these fully implemented. So OIG recommendation number 1 is the revision of the use of force policy.
Sorry, go ahead.
So OIG recommendation number 1 is revision of the use of force policy specific to including de-escalation attempts. And OIG recommendation number 2 is revision of the use of force policy with the emphasis on deadly force as a last resort, expectation to redeploy when possible. So we are in negotiations now in the meet and confer. I can't go into the details of that because of the meet and confer process. Recommendation number 3, use of force investigations and the evaluation of use of force incidents. We've had preliminary discussions that we're going to have with the use of force committee. So those are in progress, but we also need the actual policy to be done so that we can implement that recommendation. Number 4 is revised policy on deployment criteria for the rifles and shotguns. To draft and to codify the process. We've done that. The PTSB notice went out March 31st, 16, so that recommendation is complete. Recommendation number...
I'm sorry, but going back to number 3, understanding that the revision of the actual policy is in the meet and confer process, and understanding that we already train on de-escalation, correct?
Yes.
Why do we have to wait until we have the official policy change to have that aspect continue included as a part of our evaluation on use of force.
Which one? Which recommendation are you
On
referencing?
number 3, it's to ensure that all investigations and evaluations of use of force include written consideration of whether de-escalation was feasible, and for deadly force incidents, whether reasonable alternatives have been exhausted or appear impracticable.
We're already doing that now.
But it's not in the reports that we're getting.
Right, so that's the part that we're going to have a discussion with the Use of Force Committee of
Okay.
how how we're going to highlight that for you within the report.
So that'll be a part of next Tuesday's conversation.
Correct.
Okay.
So recommendation number 4 I've covered, that's already complete. Recommendation number 5 with respect to the training for the specialized training for the reset officers. An Office of Operations notice was already completed June 3rd.
Was completed?
Was completed. That's already in progress, 99% complete. As personnel change within the different reset teams, HOPE teams, et cetera, they're also being included in that training as well. So depending on deployment, we may be 100% complete or 99.9% complete, depending on how it goes. But the actual, the spirit of it is already fully implemented.
Excellent.
With respect to item number 6, use of force training to reinforce de-escalation in all of use of force training, the de-escalation concept taught in supervisor school and understanding de-escalation concept is a part of the promotional process. So it's 3 different components within one. We believe that they're already completed. The concept of de-escalation we've already trained to in all of these aspects. The only difference now is waiting for that the training directive that we're almost, the tactical directive to be implemented within the actual curriculum. The C is already part of.
And when will the tactical directive be done?
Within a week or 2. It's already been drafted, and it's now in the process for the Chief of Police to review, and then for it to be reviewed by the Use of Force Committee.
And what will practical change be? You're already doing it now?
We're already doing it. C is understanding de-escalation concept as part of the promotional selection process. So we've already started that. The very next exam, promotional exam, is the captain's exam. That's going to occur, and they've been provided with the information so that they can create and draft a question relative to relevance from human life and de-escalation. 7 is de-escalation training, that it adequately be addressed in recruit and in service, and B, that conduct a nationwide survey of agencies, the best practices. That is complete, and we're ready to schedule the meeting so that we can do a full presentation on what we found in these surveys and how we've incorporated and have the consistency between in-service training and recruit training.
So you're ready to give that report anytime?
Well, we need time. The actual report will be comprehensive.
Sure.
So we need to schedule it, make sure that we have a good, I'm suggesting at least 2-hour period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So because I suspect that within that presentation, you're going to have a number of questions that we're going to need to explain or express. So we need to actually sit down and schedule it. Again, when we have this conversation.
We can certainly make sure we have a light agenda, or maybe even a dedicated meeting.
Yeah, I would suggest, single purpose
issue.
is what I would do for those 2 items.
Okay. What time frame are you thinking you'll be in a position to do that?
We can.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Easy.
Oh, really? Okay.
My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we wanted to go to the Use of Force Committee first, if that's possible. So for 2 of you on that, and then go open session right after.
Okay.
So,
all right. We'll work on a date. We already have one single purpose meeting coming up, so maybe we'll do that towards the end of October.
Okay.
Item number 9, evaluate current training material, ensure the concept-based model includes specific guidance and tactics. Again, we'll be able to provide that presentation at the Use of Force Committee. Number 10, evaluate recruit basic training and in-service training for consistency. Ensure both courses are consistent in ensuring sufficient emphasis on de-escalation goals and the reduction use of deadly force, very similar to what we've discussed. I think we've done that. We've done the evaluation. We've looked at it, and we're prepared to do the presentation for you. Number 11, advance notifications to the Board of Police Commissioners for proposed changes in training, and to notify the Board of Police Commissioners in advance on proposed changes in the areas of de-escalation, less lethal, and mental health. The process that we come up with is two-pronged. The first is the TTRC, the Tactical Training Review Committee.
Tactics Training Review Committee.
That the OIG is a member of. So we're codifying it in a formal fashion, so there'll be a special order that specifically identifies the OIG as being a member of that. But in all practicality, the OIG is participating now with the TTRC. The second prong to this is the Use of Force Committee. So in the process of regularizing the Use of Force Committee and providing an agenda, et cetera, it'll incorporate all of this so that we're on a consistent means by which we're providing the information to the Board of Police Commissioners, so that there will be no non-advance notification. In other words, you'll be notified because of our regularized meetings. And then number 12 is include the OIG in the TTRC meetings, and we're already doing. They're already participating. In fact, they participated actively in the de-escalation tactical directive that you'll eventually see. And that concludes my report, and we're prepared to answer any of your questions.
I think I've asked all my questions. Any other questions?
Commissioner, if I could just add, George, while you were talking about the inclusion of de-escalation questions in the promotional process, let's add it to the upgrade process too, because we do far many more upgrades than we do promotions. And in the oral interviews, this can be one of the standard A question.
Yes, and we're in the, and I neglected to talk about that. We are in the process of doing that. We've had conversations with the Employee Selection Service section, but we're waiting for the actual directives to be complete so that it can be incorporated in the asking of the questions.
Great. Thank you for that suggestion. Do we have any?
Yes, sir. We have 4 public comment cards. We have Jamie Garcia, Lisa Simpson, Hamid Khan, 5, Pastor Q. Jan Marie, and Melina Abdullah. 5 cards.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I spent some time looking through some of these recommendations, and I remember when they came out in March of earlier this year. So when we look at the intersection of this new policy and body cameras, we see that this is purely a liability move. So all officers need to do is, in their written report, state that they've used de-escalation tactics and that they used reasonable alternatives for deadly force. So after they reviewed body camera footage, and as case after case shows, no one is ever out of policy. So what they need to do is just basically sit down, review what has happened, corroborate a story, write it in their report, and now they have a liability. Now they have an excuse for using force and for using deadly force. Because we've seen time and time again, no one is ever out of policy, and if they're out of policy, it's because they move too soon to intersect with a person. They're never out of policy if they use their gun. So I don't see how this is going to actually do anything, because what we know is that there's always policy, but there's action on the street. And what we see on the street is we see deadly force, we see excessive use of force. So I really see this as a shock absorber move. And it's disgusting to consider a consent decree was just lifted in 2013, considering human and civil rights violations. So after the murder of our most vulnerable, Charlie Africa, Riddell Jones, Andy Guzman, of just last year, this was just a response to quell the public. But we see what's really going on. And this was a move that you made right when you first came in, as a move just to show that you wanted to do something. But again, I say there's always policy and then there's action on the street. So how can, after the lifting of the consent decree, are we still talking about categorical use of force? And now we're talking about bias policing. So again, we have these moves to make these special reports after we see that there's intense violations of our human and civil rights occurring. So report after report can come out, but that's not necessarily going to change what we see on the streets. And I just want to make a comment. Yesterday, when we talk about these reset people, during Operations Healthy Street, we have it on video that Officer Hill was standing in front of a man who could not get up. And as a nurse, I identified that he was actually having a medical crisis. I asked him time and time again, are you calling an ambulance? And all he did was ignore me. So your reset officers don't know shit about what to do on the streets.
Lisa?
Good morning.
What's so good about it? Hey, you. You the man I've been wanting to see for a long time. Yeah, you. Yeah, blink your eyes, because I'm talking about you. You a sheep. You hide in wood clothing. You've been hiding from me for like 2 months now, since your homeboys killed my son. Yeah, you been running. Can't run no more, Beck. I'm in your face. I need you to holler at me. I need you to be a real man because you're not. You feel me? I need you to be a real man and talk to a real woman because you've been running. So you've been running your mouth in New York, talking about you killed my son to save the Nickersons? Be a man and tell me that in my face. Oh, don't get your posture together now. You know exactly what I'm talking about, love. Yeah. And you too, Miss McClain. I've been waiting on you, love. You told me give you 2 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. You haven't called my phone. Stop playing games with me, okay? Because I'm the wrong person y'all want to play with. This death certificate that y'all gave me trying to be funny, you can have it back. Guess why? Because that's not my son. I need my son death certificate. That death certificate say that my son is 28 years old. My son only 18. That death certificate says that my son got killed on the sidewalk. My son got killed in the dirt. That death certificate say that my son got shot in the chest. My son got shot in the back. That death certificate say my son was killed by another person. My son was killed by your officers. But guess what? What you don't know, Beck, I know why you killed my son. Want me to tell you why you killed my son? Because he's your daddy enemy. See, you don't know about Abram. Feel me? The ham come from us black people. Because guess what? You Jews supposed to be our brothers' keepers. But y'all not. Y'all brothers destroyers. You hide. You a hider. I like hiders, though. You feel me? And you sit here and let him hide. You don't do nothing. You the president. The president of what? What are you the president of? You got these people up here perpetrating a fraud about y'all tactics. Y'all don't have no tactics. The only tactics that I know y'all got is killing. Y'all do that real good. You don't need nobody to sit up on the panel and tell you what kind of stipulations and what they doing to get this to work. Guess what? None of that shit is working. When you gonna tell your officers to stop killing our kids? When you gonna tell your officers that, Big Shot? Since you run and you hide and you do all the little sneaky shit you do, when are you going to tell your officers, Mr. Charlie Beck, to stop killing
your
our
time
kids?
is up.
When are you going to tell them that?
Ma'am, your time is up.
When are you going to tell them that?
Thank you.
I don't care about time.
Okay,
Can y'all give me my kid back? You can't give me my kid back, so time don't mean nothing to me. I need you to be a man and come up out them pantyhose you got on and holler at a real one, though.
Okay.
That's what I need you to do.
Thank you.
Because you's a punk, homie. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you that in your face in front of all your superiors. You's a punk.
Okay.
That part.
Okay,
You
thank
kill people, kids, and you sit there and look like you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. When you went to New York, you had a lot to say, but you don't got nothing to say now that I'm in your face, huh?
Ma'am, we
Yeah.
have to
Do
continue
your-
with,
yeah, yarn
continue
if
with
you
the
want
rest of
to.
our agenda, ma'am.
Do your yarn. Man, fuck your agenda. Ma'am.
We need to continue.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next speaker, please, Hamid Khan.
And they want to give us policies? McCone Commission after the Watts uprising. Christopher Commission after Rodney King. Consent decree after the Rampart scandal. Another commission sits out here. They want to give us kinder, gentler policing. Really? This is a parent who's speaking about kinder, gentler policing. Because what you have in this policy, this de-escalation of force policy, is completely doctoring and engineering reports. That's exactly what my colleague Jamie Garcia was saying. This is what you have in the body camera policy. This is what you have in this policy. Where they will doctor and engineer reports. We keep on telling you, you need a whole x-ray of this system. You are creating conditions on the ground with predictive policing, with suspicious activity reporting programs, with various other triggers that will escalate. That will escalate. The whole idea and the concept of de-escalation is completely a moot point, unless you look at the conditions and the programs and tactics. This is counterinsurgency tactics. We keep on bringing it back to you. We keep on telling you that you can have everything, all the language on paper. It's not going to change. That's what the McCone Commission said. That's what the Christopher Commission said. That's what the consent decree said. And we are back to square one again because fundamentally it is flawed by design. Unless you revisit that, unless you do an x-ray, it's not going to change. You're going to have more parents speaking about the loss of their children. You have Waukesha Wilson's family over here as well. Today, Angie Guzman's family is going to be here as well. What are you doing? When is this going to change? Because that's what people say, that the whole system is guilty as hell, and this is what it is. When are you going to examine all these programs? We made a whole presentation last week, completely nothing, just rubber stamping an audit. And this is where we are back again. Now you're bringing us another program, and these people are giving us a lot of bullshit because that's exactly what's going to happen. You're giving them tools to engineer fraudulent reports. And that will become a historical archive. And the responsibility is going to be on you people because your hands are full of blood, and that's what the mother is saying.
Pastor Q, Jan Marie. Pastor Q, Jan Marie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Pastor Q, Church Without Walls, Skid Row, Black Jewish Justice Alliance. The escalation begins with trust. You have to trust us, and we have to trust you. The commentary for trust cannot come from LAPD. It has to come from the community. And as you can see, the commentary doesn't look good. Trust is not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. The ways not to build trust is the suspicious activity recording or reporting. 56 of the SAR being black women, that's not the way to build trust. Racial profiling is not the way to build trust, and it's not the way to de-escalate, because the minute you come into the community, there's an escalation. Let me explain it to you from my own experience. I shared this before, but I feel like this is the time to share it. I was on my way to the Union Rescue Mission to pick up some toys for some kids. I pulled up, and the officer pulled up behind me, and I was attempting to go into the Union Rescue Mission to pick up toys. The officer asked me, I stopped, I got out of the car, he came behind me, and he asked me to go back into the car. I said, why do you want me to go back into the car? I'm standing here talking to some people. Get back in the car. My mama don't even talk to me like that. I'm a grown man. And that made me feel like I did something wrong when I didn't do anything wrong. So engagement, the way you even engage the community, until that changes, there will be no trust.
Melina Abdullah. Melina Abdullah.
Okay, we'll look into it. There's room in. Ma'am, we will look into it. Please stop disrupting the meeting. There's room in here. I will make sure that someone looks into it. I hear what you're saying. I'm going to have someone look into it, and she's right here.
Melina Abdullah.
So I don't even know how to get my thoughts together because every time we come in here, it's another traumatizing event. And I don't know how you could act like this is nothing, that the family of someone who was killed is locked out, and I'll look into it. You need to treat people with some humanity. Treat people with humanity. You play games, you leave us locked outside in the sun until everybody's in, and then you say, okay, now 5 more of you can go. Every week it's a new rule. You know, you need to stop this. And then you want to talk about these reports. So yesterday, because I don't only spend my time in police commission meeting, I was driving my children to soccer practice. And my children yelled out, "Mama, stop!" Because there was this young black boy who was pulled over on Washington Boulevard, and the cops had their guns drawn on him. And he was sitting there like this, and my children were petrified. And so I got out, and I started recording. In the end, he had done nothing wrong. He wasn't ticketed. He wasn't cited. Thankfully, he wasn't brutalized or killed, but it could have been. And so we're hearing this reporting, this rhetoric of de-escalation and community policing that means nothing. We're so overwhelmed as Black Lives Matter, we only have an opportunity to respond to the killings. Killings that are not going down. We're not seeing a decrease. Your PR machine has gotten better, but your actual work on the ground is worsening every moment. And every moment that it gets worse, we're talking about real people's lives. We're talking about Richard Risher and Waukesha Wilson and Keith Bursey and all of the names that we have to scramble to remember because there's so many. So do something. Don't just listen to these reports. We don't care about your rhetoric. We want some real action where my children aren't petrified as they're going to soccer practice. This has to stop. It has to stop. And we're calling on you to do something real, not simply issue pretty words.
We have no other comment cards on this item.
There's no action. There's no action to take on this item. Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on item number 3B, Department's verbal update and discussion relative to the status of the implementation of the Family Liaison Officer Program.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Sean Malinowski, the Chief of Staff, and I'm here to...
Can we have order, please?
I just have a quick question before this starts, and I'm sorry. It's just I know that we give comments before public comment, but sometimes I don't have a comment until after public comment. So
That's
my
fine.
one question is, in terms of, because there was no action on the report that was being provided today, but in terms of when and how we will actually engage this matter, can you, what I heard you and the department indicate is that you were looking for a meeting that would be devoted to dealing with de-escalation.
So all of the recommendations on that we just got the update on were unanimously approved by this commission several months ago. So now we are in the process of implementing those recommendations. So each of the recommendations that was approved has a different parties involved with executing on it. One of the recommendations called for a report back to the commission on our de-escalation training in comparison to other departments. So that's what that report that Chief Villegas was referring to, that we will have a dedicated session where they report to us on the de-escalation training of the department, along with the de-escalation training that's done by other departments.
Okay, and so in the context of that meeting and that report, I would simply ask that we try to determine a way of providing for additional public comment and for a kind of in a setting that really gives both us and the public a much better understanding of what is happening as it relates to training, and also that allows us to have a better sense of how things, the effectiveness of this training, because I do have a strong concern about the difference between what we write and what we say and what it looks like on the ground. And I believe that it is important that we get more input about how it's operating on the ground. I know that that's a committee that you chair. I also know that you've done a great deal of work, Commissioner Johnson, in terms of laying the foundation for change. Laying the foundation for change. I do, however, believe that our work as it relates to overseeing that would be significantly enhanced were we to have greater appreciation for the way in which this training is showing up on the streets of Los Angeles.
Yeah, so we'll, you please stop, please stop disrupting the meeting. So we will have, we'll have the report from the department. The Inspector General is also giving a similar report, so we should have a lot of information to look at, and then we can, that will hopefully lead to some additional actions or considerations from the board, and we can figure out next steps from there. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Sean Malinowski. I'm the Chief of Staff, as you know, and this is Lieutenant Stacy Bentz out of my office. We're here to report on the status of the Family Liaison Officer Program. On August 23rd, the Commission and the Chief of Police announced the establishment of the Family Liaison Unit. On the 29th, so a week later, we put out an advisory on the department land citywide to look for interested parties. We had over 50 calls come in from interested people who were either interested in the position or interested in helping us train that kind of position. As it turns out, also people from the Inspector General's office have some expertise from the United Kingdom on this topic. And we have people internally as well who have subject matter expertise. One of our lieutenants is a former Fulbright scholar, and she did her project on this program in the UK. The following 2 weeks, we put out as of Friday, we put out an employee selection package. So now it's advertised for 2 Sergeant 2 positions. Those would be upgradable positions. So we would look to either get existing Sergeant 2s or upgrade Sergeant 1s. And those 2 Sergeant 2s would report to me through my aide, Lieutenant Stacy Bentz, who will be handling all of the selection and the training. So we hope to have that ad will close by the end of September, which gives us the month of October to complete the selection process. We anticipate, because of the initial calls we got, we anticipate we'll have many applicants, probably dozens of applicants. So we will conduct those interviews and make a selection by the end of October. We'd hope to then transfer those folks as soon as possible, probably loan them over in the meantime to start about a 4 to 6 week training program. And that training will consist of working with the Inspector General, working with our own behavioral sciences section and the psychologist, and some of the other subject matter experts that we've identified. So we would say in the December timeframe, we would have people available to respond to incidents. And
Excellent.
That's the timing.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, it's good. Good progress.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any comments on this item?
Yes, sir. We have 4 comment cards. We have Jamie Garcia, Lisa Simpson, Melina Abdullah and Robert Sucher.
Excuse me, somebody's trying to turn in a comment card for this item, and he won't let it go in. It's once comments start, according to the policy, right?
We'll accept the card. It's fine to bring it up.
So again, I want to just uplift how these policies come out and how much of a joke they are. I mean, there's been countless murders of our people. We grieve as a community, we grieve as families, and now you want to pay lip service to having some sense of humanity. It wasn't until family members actually came out to actually advocate for their children that any action was taken. And now we're talking about how many years has LAPD been in office or been a part of this city, and how many people have been killed. And so it's just now that we're saying, oh, you know, maybe someone needs to reach out and actually let them know what happened. But even in saying that, we have family members coming up here and saying, you told me that you would contact me and no one has contacted me. But now you're going to backtrack and say, when did we suggest for this policy to come in? So we actually haven't started to implement it yet. So we'll get a report back saying what the implementation will look like, and then maybe we'll start thinking about reaching out to families. That's really pathetic. That's so pathetic. I mean, how many people have to be murdered for you to realize that these are people, they're not incidences, that this is about people's loss of humanity, and that you have no humanity, that you don't even have the decency to reach out to these families and tell them what exactly happened. But, and then I want to just go back again and kind of just have us all look at how many times there's been this intervention in LAPD, how many times policies have failed, how many times practices have failed, how many times it's been known that racial profiling is happening, people are being murdered, how many commissions have to come in and say, hey, we need to try to reform this place, but how many times that has actually failed. And so report after report, suggestion after suggestion of more policies is not going to change anything. This system is flawed. We don't need you on the streets. We need more people like nurses, like doctors, like community centers, like schools. We don't need more police. In fact, we need your money. We want your money. We want you to be dissembled. We don't want you here anymore, and we don't need more family liaison things. So stop taking our money and start giving it to people who actually know what to do. Actually, we saw with the reset officer again, and I'm going to say it. He saw that someone was actually having a medical emergency, and he did nothing about it. He did nothing about it. So how are these officers actually serving our community? If you don't have a seat, I'm going to ask you. You know, Matt, give as many warnings as you want. People don't care. They don't respect you.
Lisa Simpson.
So, Ms. McClain, I was in your office, right? With your Inspector General, right? Yeah. And he lied to both of us. He told you there was no preliminary report. There was no police report. He told you there was nothing, right in my face, right or wrong. That it was a process. You asked why I didn't get a report. He said it was a process, right or wrong. Well, his jig is up. That process is a goddamn lie. I've been having this for 2 weeks now. Yeah, a reporter came all the way down here and brought me the preliminary report, which your Inspector General told me and you in your office there wasn't one. There's one. They just didn't want me to know it was one. Yeah, it's one. It's a couple of them. Yeah. See the lies, the games? Don't play with me. Playing with yourself, you'll get a better nut. Straight out. This is bullshit. You feel me? My son been dead for 2 months and you know it. I'm in your office and your Inspector General tell you it don't work like that. Is that not what he said? When you asked him, damn, she ain't got a report yet? Oh, it doesn't work like that. How did a person off the streets, Charlie Beck, give me a preliminary report that you said you didn't have for your officers killing my son? Then you gonna tell me, oh, y'all can't tell me who the officer is because he been threatened. Kudos, I got his picture. What you know about that? I'm a PI myself. I ain't gonna wait for y'all to tell me nothing. Y'all ain't gonna have me keep coming up here for 8-9 months, keep telling me the same lie. Y'all need to get y'all shit together. You over there drinking that water, I wish it had poison in it, because you need to go. You are a killer. It's sad. You wake up every day to your grandkids, all that, every day. To your kids, you go to different states, you run your mouth like a little bitch. But you ain't gonna say it in nobody's face, though. You ain't a man at all. For real, for real. You can squint your eyes and all that. All the money that y'all make, they need to give you the money to go get a sex change, because you a full-grown biatch.
Melina Abdullah.
My name is Robert Suker, and I'm a regular attendee here from the public, former teacher with Los Angeles Unified School District. This morning on the way over here, I heard a report on the news where Donald Trump is quoted as saying that we need to implement essentially the Israeli system of profiling, that we have to get over this whole idea of political correctness and let the police go. Let them do their job. Let them come at the public to the degree that they feel is right. This is on the national airwaves, and I'm aware of the fact that the largest police kind of association has just come out in support of Donald Trump. So, you know, I feel a little bit like a chicken in the wolf house here, coming to talk to you. Maybe like a fool, like I should be really hitchhiking my way to a secret place somewhere. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to assure you that this is a big community and that our eyes are on you. And when we talk about de-escalation, when we talk about community relations, and above all, when we talk about respect for people, it's on the wall, it's emblazoned there. We'll be all dead, but I pray to God that that is still up there, because that is what we're striving for, all of us. I want to compliment you on having had Hamid Khan give his presentation last week. You could have knocked me over with a feather. This is a sign, a very concrete sign of a step that you're taking. But man, you guys have really got to get running, because if this guy's going to unleash people with guns and make it open season on the public, God help us.
Melina Abdullah, followed by Brooke Tatum.
So this is another case of rhetoric versus reality. There's this rhetoric of a family liaison. I just want us to step back and look at how families are treated right here in the police commission meetings. You, Matt Johnson, talking to families, your time is up. What kind of insensitivity is that, right? What kind of, and of course Charlie Beck's going to get up because you're next. You're next. I don't understand how you are going to hire a family liaison given how you treat not just families, but how you embolden your officers and really sign off on the killings of these children. Sign off on the killings of these children and then put an armed officer in charge of families. We're here today with the family of Waukesha Wilson. What, you putting your eyebrows up? You putting your eyebrows up? That's you who sits here and says you have no information, and week after week lie to the family and say she killed herself. I thought you had no information. If you had no information, how do you know she killed herself? You don't know. You don't know. You continue to operate as a mob boss. This family liaison is another ruse for the media to make us think that you're kind and gentle. We know you're not. We know who you are. We know that you are the most murderous police chief in this entire country. And we are going to take your job. We are going to take your job. We're going to fire Charlie Beck. We're going to fire Charlie Beck. 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 Fire Charlie Beck.
Order.
Fire Charlie Beck. Fire Charlie Beck. It's my comment time. Fire Charlie Beck. Fire Charlie Beck. And that's real. That's real. Your job is up. Your time is up.
Brooke Tatum.
My name is Brooke Brooke Tatum. I grew up in LA as a youth as well, so this could have been, this is very close to home. First things first, if you cared about the family program, it would have already been in place. That's just simple said and done. It would have already been in place if you would have cared about it, because this would have been in your nature, in your own human nature, to care about de-escalating prior to death, prior to your mistakes, prior to the lives lost. This is an answer to a question. All you guys are doing is trying to control the people, and you guys don't need any more control. The power lies in the people. You guys need to stop spending money on padded belts for your guns, because you don't need that, and start spending money in the future. You have no idea what these children could have been in their lives, what I'm going to become, and I'm sitting here facing you guys because you guys are messing up my community. That's not fair. You can't keep killing these kids. So if the program really mattered, it would have already been in place. We are the liaison. If it's really to protect and serve, and your actions are falling really short to those words that you guys are preaching and to say, and if it's not us that you protect and serve, and it's yourselves, then your time is up. You're done here. We don't need you to protect yourselves anymore. We need protection in the community, and if we have to step up and be our own protection, then, yep.
We have no other comment cards. We have no other comment cards for this item.
Sorry, I had a card. I turned it in at like 9:32, and the guy said
What
it
is
was
your name,
cut
sir?
off. My name's Dylan Kidd.
It's fine, go ahead.
That's for item number 4, sir.
Okay.
Public
I
comment.
need 2 minutes. You guys got to change your language. Every time I'm in here and I hear the word incident, it makes me want to fucking kill somebody. So I learned a couple of things this week that I thought were interesting, which is that I see here SWAT team, says Special Weapons and Tactics team. This is all about language, right? I learned that Daryl Gates, back in 1969, the first time there was a SWAT program, wanted
Sir,
to call it...
this item is
Hang on,
about
he
the
wanted to
family
call it the
liaison
Special
program?
Weapons Attack Team. And somebody was like, that's a little aggressive, so we should call it the Special Weapons and Tactics Team. And one more thing, you get 20 seconds here. There was a Freedom of Information request for documents regarding the response to the Ferguson riots, and it turns out that the National Guard was referring to the protesters as enemy forces. And I just wanted to say, in terms of language, and we keep hearing the word humanity in here, you guys got to change the language.
you have
right?
a card
Okay,
for the public
10
comment?
seconds.
No, if you have-
All I'm saying is that if law enforcement is referring to people of color as enemy forces, this country is finished as a democracy.
Okay, we have no other comment cards for this item.
There's also no action required for this item. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now on item number 4, public comment. We have 14 comment cards. The first 4, Crystal, Ingram, D.A., Prentice Jenkins, and P. Moore. Pete Moore.
Good morning. My name is
Morning.
Crystal Ingram, and I am director of a non-public school. A non-public school is a school for students with disabilities. So I have students at my school who are autistic, emotionally disturbed, etc. And a third illegal marijuana dispensary was opened around the corner from my school. This is the third one that's opened in the last 2 years. I have spent numerous hours along with the community and the church to close the first 2. Last week, a permit was issued and another one opened. And the reason I came is because I found a lot of these bottles in my schoolyard, and one little kid came up and said, "Miss Ingram, marijuana, Miss Ingram, marijuana." So I'm here to find out if there are any steps that you know about that can escalate closing this particular one. It took me and the community 1 year to close the first one. They reopened. It took only about 6 months. One just reopened. So I need to be spending time like this morning with my students. But I came here to bring this to your attention. I mean, there are lots of other places in LA, and there is legislation that states that they should not be open within a certain amount, with a certain, number of feet.
Distances.
But they are. There's one just right across the street from my school. We smell it. When I cleaned out my, one student brought this, and I swept the front of my school this morning, and there are lots of these because they come and they just throw them on the ground. So, can any of you give me any advice as to how I can escalate getting this third one closed? Now, I don't have a personal opinion against these dispensaries. I just don't think they should be around schools.
Ma'am,
So-
Chief Moore in the back corner there, we'll get a police officer to talk to you and get your information so we can talk to your area.
Okay. Well,
Thank you for coming down.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, DA.
You need to know I'm not giving my personal opinion on whether for or against. I said it should not be around students, particularly students with disabilities, and they should throw them in my schoolyard.
They're not gonna do nothing down there.
So I'm not saying, I'm not saying for or against. I'm just here to let you know that they should not be across the street
Well,
from the
don't
school.
talk to Morris, sister, because he a
Particular
liar.
school for students with disabilities.
Thank you for coming down, and we'll have an officer talk to you.
DA.
Greetings, my name is DA. I'm a local Rastafarian. Today I will speak about why racist white policing seems legitimate. Mental images that are not accurate pervade the society. The assassination of black male character, which began with William Shakespeare's play Othello, is one forced mental image which goes way beyond common sense. Another myth is that white empires needed for genteel civilization to exist. The reality is that the first universities in Europe were created by black people, the Moors. The Moors ruled much of southern Europe for 800 years. They were then reduced to being part of the first wave of slaves brought to America after they fell in 1491. The reality is also that the cycle of empire between the races ends now with us hippies, black and white and Latino and Asian and Middle Eastern. And unless there be any question as to who the bad guys are, it's imperialism, white racist empire. 17,000 children starve to death on average every day in the third world. The CIA and the World Bank purposely break the economies in those countries by creating cost overruns on large civic projects like the building of bridges and dams in order to purposely cause famine to try and weaken imperial competition. It is the biggest war in the world. In the news, the term third world debt is the euphemism used to describe that war. The secrets of the American empire are coming back to haunt it, while false mental images of a Yankee Doodle idealism fill the heads of those not willing to process the information coming into their heads, but who instead take that information in blindly. That same CIA, LAPD jingoist philosophy killed 16-year-old Jose Mendez, who was murdered by LAPD officers on February 6, 2016 in Boyle Heights. His body was dragged by the perpetrators apparently to cover up their crime. Loyalty to policing with no regard for principles and standards leads to a society that is chaotic, undisciplined, and fed up. Secret policies of state violence create backlash. The secret police state has the LAPD as its local avatar.
Thank you for your comments.
The LAPD needs to develop a policy of good faith, cooperation, and dialogue with community members. We want transparency and no secrecy.
Sir.
Fire Charlie Beck! Fire Charlie Beck!
Fire Charlie Beck! Fire Charlie Beck!
Okay, can we have order,
Fire
please?
Charlie Beck!
Thank you. The next speaker, Prentice Jenkins, please.
And I want to add to that, no secret police! No secret police!
Can we have order, please?
No secret police!
Why you always let me run, Mr. Johnson? And always putting this liar sitting up here in this spot. The laser man. How your laser program going? Who the next
Can we give Mr. Jenkins his time, please? Can we please have order so Mr. Jenkins can have his time?
Prentice Jenkins, published a City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. You know, there was for a long time, I continued to say that that they're gonna actually hit us, and they're gonna hit us hard. And from from the Boston Marathon.
Hold the clock,
Right.
please.
Sorry.
Hold the clock.
Yeah.
Public comment is an opportunity for everyone from the public to have their opportunity to speak. So if you're going to interrupt the public from it's not up to you to decide that. It's not up to me to decide that. Every member of the public has their right during public comment to have 2 minutes to talk about whatever they want without being interrupted. I understand you don't care, but can you please give Mr. Jenkins his time?
Thank you.
Sorry for the interruption.
Thank you, President Johnson. I've been in the activism business for a long time, and I was one of the most radical ones, right? So one of the things that I learned was it's important to build bridges, right? And while I was one of the radical activism, my other brothers were building bridges. And the way I'm going to build a bridge today is I'm going to sing this song that's in my head. I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me. So deep in my heart, you're really a part of me. Thank you. I'll be here all night. I've got you under my skin. Thank you. I tried so not to give in. I said to myself, this affair never will go so well. But why must I resist? Darling, you know so well. I've got you under my skin. I'll sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of the warning voice that comes with the night. It repeats in my ear. Don't you know, you fool, you never can win. Use your mentality, wake up to reality. And each time I do, just the thought of you makes
Your
me
comments,
stop.
Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Jenkins.
Thank you,
Next
folks.
speaker, Pete
I'll
Moore.
be here all week.
Hold the clock, please. Hold the clock, please. Hold the clock. Public comment is not for people to come in and say what I want to hear. It is not for people to come in and say what you want to hear. It is for anyone, any member of the public, to come in and have 2 minutes to speak to this board. 2 minutes to speak to this board. If anyone interrupts the public speakers again, I'm going to ask them to leave. So please give the other speakers, ma'am, please. I understand. I don't understand. But
You want to sit up here and listen to some bullshit ass singing. Y'all killed my son and y'all can't tell me nothing, but I'm supposed to be up here. Oh, Mr. Johnson.
if you
Oh, Mr. Johnson. Yeah, that part right there.
if you want to have a private meeting with me, I'm happy to do it anytime.
When can I have a private meeting with you?
We can do it today.
Okay.
Are you free? Are you free at 1 o'clock today? Are you free at 1 o'clock today?
I'm free every day.
Okay. Well,
I'll be free until y'all can tell me why y'all killed my son. That part. Yeah. Don't look at
just
him.
asking for respect for everyone who's bothered to come down here, to have the inconvenience of taking the time to come down here to address this board, to give them their moment of time.
No, but
I'm talking about the inconvenience for the public speakers that are here, and to give them their moment of time. Thank you, and sorry for holding this up.
Good morning. On August 20th of this year at 8:30 a.m., I executed all the steps that were required by law to make certain that my valid restraining order was duly served. However, due to the officers from the Wilshire station, my restraining order was not enforced, and as a result, I was attacked, I was beaten, and in an effort to cover up their reckless actions, falsely arrested by officers who were supposed to protect me and enforce my restraining order. The watch commander on August 20th was Sergeant McNulty, who arrogantly declared that he had made an executive decision not to enforce my restraining order. He also stated that he ignored my restraining order and ordered my arrest because, and I quote, "I told you I would take care of this on Monday, but I hear that you called to complain that she violated the restraining order not once, but twice. And someone said, the dispatcher said you called, or some woman called screaming." In short, I, a person who has no criminal history, never been arrested before, acted to the letter of the law, was falsely arrested on August 20th after having a valid restraining order served for exercising my rights and being a pest. Yes, I called 911, screaming for help because the defendant named in my restraining order snuck up behind me, pushed me to the ground in a dark garage, and closed the gate to the back of my property, of which she was the only one to have access to, before beating me ferociously. And yes, I have videos and photos to corroborate my story, none of which McNulty or his officers were interested in seeing. As trying as my experience has been, I feel fortunate that I didn't end up like countless other women before me who are dead because the all-male officers who responded to their 911 calls ignored their duty to enforce a restraining order, trivialized their situation as either a domestic dispute or some family matter, and made them feel like pests and irritating women who can't follow directions when a man in charge tells them to put their fears on hold till Monday, until he and his men, who they believe know better than a judge, figure out what to do. I'm just baffled as to why in 2016 women are still made to feel like chattel, who have to relinquish their rights and their well-being to men in the case of the Wilshire Division, not very bright men. It was only after I met a female officer, not from the Wilshire Division, was my restraining order finally enforced. She told me to go to Internal Affairs. On August 24th, Internal Affairs agreed that my rights were breached. They called Wilshire Division and had them enforce my restraining order. However, as another act of defiance, the watch commander, Sergeant Churchill, called the commissioner who signed my restraining order and attempted to have it nullified. Had it not been for the sergeant from Internal Affairs, I would have never known that Sergeant Churchill attempted to influence a commissioner against me, nor would I have known that the commissioner scheduled a hearing the next day. The bottom line is my restraining order was never nullified, as the minute orders from the hearings demonstrate, yet to this day the officers at the Wilshire Division are still promulgating the lie that my restraining order was nullified. The felony, yes, felony, that Sergeants McNulty and Gorby falsely charged me with was rejected by the DA, yet cost me $5,000 in bail, expenses, loss of reputation and work, as well as a great deal of mental anguish. On top of that, the officers of the Wilshire Division to this day have steadfastly refused to arrest the defendant, even when she violated the no-contact provision of the restraining order on August 21st and 26th and entered my home and stole items and money in front of 2 witnesses on August 31st.
Ma'am,
the officers.
Now I'm going to have Chief Moore have someone speak to you and so we can get all of the details and look into this, okay?
I would like to just complete, it's not very long.
Ma'am, you've already gone over your time. You need to conclude.
I would like to just conclude. I would like to ask, how can I or any woman in the city of Los Angeles have confidence in the LAPD when officers of the Wilshire Division act like a gang of thugs who only protect their own friends? How can I or any woman in the city of Los Angeles have confidence in the LAPD when women's problems are reduced to domestic disputes and family matters that they need to figure out? And unfortunately, as a black woman, I didn't have the luxury of figuring it out in my trivial family matter in my own home because Sergeant McNulty concluded, informed only by a narrow view of black women as bellicose, belligerent people, that he could not trust me to act like an adult. Those are his words. Thus, he decided it was better to...
Ma'am, thank you for coming down. I promise you we will look into it. Chief Moore will have someone speak to you right now so we can start getting the details.
Yes. Ma'am, if you would talk with Lieutenant Chris Waters there, she will take down your information. I understand there's a complaint investigation, but we will follow up in addition to that. With what's happened since you filed that complaint. So, ma'am, if you would, please. If we'd like to handle this right now, if you would walk right back to that door, and Lieutenant Chris Waters will help you.
Thank you. The next 4 speakers, please. We have Michael Williams. Michael Williams, Sheila Hines, Jojo Smith, Jasmine Abdullah,
My name is Sheila Hines, and I'm the auntie of Waukesha Wilson. We're here again. It's 6 months now. Charlie Beck, he always leaves because he look out here and he sees the Hines family. And he doesn't want to answer any questions because he knows that he has lied about the altercation that happened in Los Angeles Metropolitan Detention Center with Waukesha, my niece, and a jailer or a police officer or somebody. He lied. He failed to talk to his detectives first. But we got a hold to his detectives first, and they told us the whole story. So, yes, he is a liar. And I want to confront him. This is my niece. And y'all can try to tear down her name. You already killed her. But I'm not going to let you guys just keep saying suicide. And we know that didn't happen. It's too many holes in the stories. It's too many lies. And if it was suicide, why is it still an investigation? What you looking for? You got the telephone cord. You got the documentation from the hospital, wherever you say she was transferred to. You got all that information. Why is it taking 6 months? On the 27th, it'll be 6 months. Let me tell you something. My niece and I were very close. We have similarities. In no way on my birthday, March 27th, would she not miss calling me. She wouldn't do that. So something very serious happened during that morning after she talked to her mother in high spirits.
Thank you for coming down here today.
There is foul play. But we know you guys not gonna, answer the question. But we gonna come every Tuesday. We want you to see her face. We want you to know her name. We want you guys. Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson.
Can we have order? Thank you very much.
What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now. What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now. What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now. What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now. What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now. What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now. What we
Order,
want.
please.
Justice.
Thank
when
you.
we want it. Justice. What we want.
Thank you.
When we want it. Now. What we want.
Can we have order, please?
When we want it. Now. What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now.
Order, please.
When we want it. Now. What we want. Justice. When we want it. Now.
We can't get order. I'm going to have to call a recess.
That's what we want.
Thank you.
Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson. What the hell are
Order,
you
please.
laughing at? What are you laughing at?
Order, please.
What do you think so funny? What do you think is so funny?
Okay, we're going to take a
What do you
2-minute
think is so
recess.
funny?
If we cannot regain order, then we're going to stop the public part of the meeting.
Waukesha Wilson. Waukesha Wilson. Does he have a smile on his damn face? I'm sick and tired of
Yeah.
And don't, this cockamamie story y'all pulling, suicide is bullshit. My niece would have never did that. She loved life too much. She would have never left her son, or her mother, or her family. She had great plans to move out there with me. She was looking for a place out there. And you guys cut it short. All because you told somebody ordered her to get on a bunk and she refused. And anybody who's been in jail, they know what happened when you refuse their order.
Whoop your ass.
Hell yeah. Whoop your ass, kill you. They'll kill you. Come in on. What the hell you two guys whispering about? I know my daughter. She was a housewife. She refused the order. Yeah, the detective told us that. Detective McCarty and Detective Stone. They told us that. And so it was too late for Chief Beck to get with them and corroborate the story. It was too late. All these holes in the story. She was found hanging from the phone cord. Then the next week, the officer said she was lying in the middle of the floor unresponsive. And that's a lie because we have too many people from Black Lives Matter got arrested and been in there, and no way. It's impossible to hang yourself from that phone cord.
Nope.
Rise up! Resist! Need no killer cops or jail! The whole damn system is guilty as hell! Rise up! Resist!
Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order.
The whole damn system is guilty as hell! Rise up!
If we,
Resist!
can everyone please have a seat?
The whole damn system is guilty as hell! Rise up! Resist!
Can everyone please have a seat?
The whole damn system is guilty as hell!
If everyone doesn't have a seat, then we're going to end the public part of the meeting. I'm going to request a motion to end the public. I don't want to do that. I'd like to continue with public comment.
Thank
If
you.
we have another outburst, I am going to entertain a motion to end the public session of the meeting, though.
The next speaker, please, Jojo Smith, followed by Jasmine Abdullah and Lisa Simpson.
Jojo Smith, Los Angeles Community Action Network, Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. Black Lives Matter. Black lives do matter. The kids' lives matter. This family liaison, why does it take for decades of LAPD killing kids, do we have to have a liaison? We don't need liaisons. We need community support places for our youth to go to. LAPD don't need 54% of the Los Angeles budget. They don't need all that money. Our communities need that money. Our communities need programs for our youth to stay out of trouble. But instead, they have no choice but to be in the streets. And then they get profiled. As the sister said, she was racial. They talk shit about people all the time in the LAPD. LAPD is the most racist organization in the country. The terrorists. You want to call us terrorists. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have a gun. I don't see no gun in this room. I don't see no gun in this room. But the terrorists. But the terrorists, right there. When the sister's up here talking, you're going to have this pig come run up on her. A woman. They ain't got nothing but her hands. I'm sick of letting see y'all rubber stamp everything. You see, you were sitting behind a seal, LAPD. Who appointed you? Who appointed you? Eric Garcetti, the city of Los Angeles. But instead, all y'all motherfuckers are sitting behind LAPD seal. Chief Beck needs to go.
Why are your officers still going inside the Nickerson Gardens, threatening all these people that seen them kill my son? I don't feel like that's fair to me. You feel me? I mean, if y'all saying that my son did all this wrong, why are your officers going to the Nickerson Garden removing cameras? Why are they going in the Nickerson Gardens telling people they're going to lose their housing? Why are they going in the Nickerson Gardens giving these people stipends to shut their mouth. What is that about? I'm keeping it real with you, Miss McClain. I got a witness that seen the whole shooting of them killing my son. She done got tickets in the mail from 4 years ago that she ain't never had. They trying to take her daughter away from her through her baby daddy, and he don't even know what's going on. They offered her money to move, to relocate her. Why? So she won't tell the truth about your officers killing my son? That's how you train your officers, Mr. Assistant Chief Beck Moore? Your officer that supposedly got shot? She said he did just like this. Oh, it ain't nothing. Guess why? He never got shot. I got a video on my phone I'm going to show you today, Mr. Johnson, if you're a real man and you really going to talk to me at 1 o'clock. It's gunshots all on the video. Guess what your officers do? Act like it was nothing. They was just carrying on with their business. And they shooting. They on the film and say, officer down. Your officers never moved. You know why? Because it was a setup the whole time. You had officers all around the perimeter of the Nickerson Gardens to kill my 18-year-old son that y'all say is 28 years old. My oldest son is 26. I'm trying to figure out how did my third born be older than my firstborn. And this is on y'all paperwork. This is what y'all gave me. It's sad. It's so sad because the games that y'all play, the jig is up. I know the game now. You feel me? You only can play the game so long with a stupid person, but I'm not dumb. I'm very intelligent. I'm a black woman with integrity. I keep telling y'all that. The first thing come out y'all mouth is, oh, Nickerson Gardens. I never lived there, sir. Not that I'm putting it down, but that's just not my character. You feel me?
I look forward to talking to you right after the meeting.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you don't hide like the rest of them hide, and I hope you be there too, Miss McClain, because you need to see this video too, so then you can tell me what's your opinion on how your officers hear that an officer is down and they never move. And they never move, and they right there on the scene. They got the police already set up on the perimeter to kill my son.
We need to go on to the next speaker. And
the next speaker ain't here, so I'm going to take her time.
Cannot take her time. I'm sorry.
That part.
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying. But you don't want to hear what I got to say, but I got video footage to prove it. Oh, you sure is going to meet with me? Okay. I'm going to see. I'm going to see.
Okay.
Yeah, that part.
I need you to please have a seat so I can bring up the next speaker.
Thank you. The next speaker, Melina Abdullah, followed by Michael Novick.
So today is my middle child's birthday. Amara turns 10 years old today, and I think that's beautiful. She's a beautiful, vibrant child, and I'm so thankful for her life. And then I'm sitting here with mothers like Lisa Hines, who will never celebrate another birthday with her teenage son. I'm sitting here with the mother of Waukesha Wilson, whose grandson is being raised by his father because his mother is no longer here. I celebrated my birthday on Sunday with the husband of Riddell Jones and their children who don't have a mother anymore. And I think about my 10-year-old daughter, and I think about how easy it is for you all to give permission to police to kill our babies, to kill their mothers, to kill their fathers, and then use this rhetoric of community policing, of de-escalation. We know that it's a falsehood because look at the way that you treat us. Look at the lack of respect and humanity you have right now, Matt Johnson. I'm talking. You're sitting here saying that everybody needs to be heard. Be heard by who? You looking down, you're texting or doing whatever. I'm talking. I'm talking. So what kind of respect are you instilling? You all are the oversight body. When you disrespect us, when you treat mothers and members of the public as nothing, how do you think these officers respond? What kind of example are you setting? I have to remind my daughter and all of my children that I'm going to do everything that I can to protect them. For them, Black Lives Matter gives them some semblance of protection, some feeling of protection, because they know that these people here will not. They know that Aiyana Jones was 7 years old when she was killed. They know that Tyree King was 13 years old. And we know right here in Los Angeles, Jesse Romero was 14, Richard Risher was 18, and Kenny Watkins
Thank
was
you for
18.
your comment.
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Thank you for your comments.
Michael Novick, followed by Max King, Jamie Garcia, and Hamid Khan.
Michael Novick, White People for Black Lives. Earlier today, Matt Johnson, don't leave. Matt, you expressed concern about it, how people are inconvenienced to come down here. There's a simple solution, which is that you have to have your meetings on the weekends and in the evenings out in the community. And I challenge any of you, the simplest possible demand from Black Lives Matter, you can't even meet that. How do you think people will have any respect for this body at all? I had to wait outside in the sun for so long that I couldn't get in to comment on anything else. But I want to say I oppose the money for Charlie Beck. I oppose the donations for the SWAT team. I want somebody on this board to do an evaluation of how much money. Just today, you've accepted something like $40,000 in donations. This is for a department that already eats up 52% or 57% of the whole city budget. I want somebody on this board to have the nerve to put together and demand a tally of how much money has been donated and how much money has been added to the LAPD budget by impounds and confiscation of people's money on top of that budget. I want you to think about what it means that you have to have a special liaison officer appointed to deal with all the families of the people you kill. What does it mean that a department has to have a special body set up to deal with how many people they're killing every year? I want you to think about the fact that every time we come to one of these meetings, at the end of the meeting, you have a closed session. Today you have 2 more officer-involved shootings from over a year ago, 10/3/15 and 9/27/15, and you can't even catch up the number of people who are being shot by this department week in and week out, year in and year out. You have no respect from anybody in this community until you act on any of those things. So somebody raise their hand and tell me they're going to reschedule these meetings so they're held out in the public, out in the community on a weekend so people don't have to be inconvenienced, and then people will listen to anything else you have to say.
Next speaker.
Max King.
Morning, sir.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I greatly appreciate opportunity. I wish not to be long with. I'm Jewish descent, survival of Holocaust. I'm 80 years old. Recently, I discovered that I acquired, where I live, bed bugs. And bed bugs have red color, but it's not human. They just like a chicken, have red blood, those bed bugs. But somebody took a heavy hit on me, cheated, and damaged my life and poisoned air heavily. And I wish police of California state will take control over bed bugs, over bugs control, take over policing, not to give somebody else private hands. So police, I have opportunity to bring police to take, investigate with me and take control over. Now people have different colors, skin color. I'm lighter color, some darker. But we all the same, we have red blood. That's what unites us. Thank you. I wish Chief Charlie Beck will see me and help with other stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Jamie Garcia.
So just going to get into it. So we have another officer-involved shooting or murder, Norma Angie Guzman. So she was known, for those of you who don't know her, or don't know about this case, she was known in the community as having a mental health condition. The community pretty much knew her. They knew that she would have certain amount of fits every once in a while, and the community responded nonviolently in taking care of her. And then let's go back to some statistics now. So about 1/3 of 38 people that were shot by LAPD had a mental health condition. So let's let that sit and percolate a little bit now. So this morning on my drive in, I was listening to all the things that were going to happen today at the police commission, from the press conference to you guys ruling whether or not this shooting was in or out of policy. And they stated a fact that I didn't know. Norma Guzman was killed 10 seconds after police exited their vehicles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seconds and she was murdered. She was holding some type of knife, and the video was released because the family is suing as well, so there goes more city money. She was walking. She wasn't running. She wasn't waving the knife. She was walking, and they executed her on the street, in front of business stores, in front of other people. So now we want to go back to this de-escalation policy, which seems, and this reasonable alternatives, this redeployment of the tactical situation in case there's violence. So apparently you are telling me that officers never knew how to do this, because now we have to have a written policy on it. So it appears that officers had free range to shoot and kill whoever they wanted because they had no concept of what de-escalation is and no concept of redeployment into a better tactical situation to avoid violence. That is really, really sad, because you're obviously admitting it. And right now, we're not to expect it to be on the streets because
please.
you are not ready to actually handle this policy.
Hamid Khan.
So too bad Matt Johnson
next
isn't here
speaker, Hamid
to
Khan,
actually
please.
respond to the shock-absorbing report that he wants on
Your last
de-escalation
warning,
and
your
reasonable
last warning, and your last warning.
tactical deployment.
No more warnings. You can leave. You can leave. Those two are out. guys.
Let's watch now how
Yeah, you are.
de-escalation occurs.
Yep.
Let's watch.
Or we'll close the meeting down. Then nobody else will speak.
Let's watch, Steve. The
We have only one more
de-escalation
comment card,
tactics.
sir.
Yeah, next speaker. Next speaker,
We have
please.
one more comment card. We have Hamid Khan.
Speaker. And you two can leave. Next speaker. Who's the next speaker? Officers, hold on. Officers, these two people can leave. You and the man in the beard with a hat.
So
I'm going to
is it-
de-escalate and
hold
stop
on,
the meeting.
Stop.
I've got the gavel, and I will handle the meeting. Okay, Cynthia? Sit down. We'll take a recess.
You feel safe? You feel safe? Should we take a recess or not? Let me know. Recess. We're on recess.
You sure, man? Why are you making this face? You real smart.
So, a couple things. No, we're on recess,
We're
so
on
a
recess.
couple things. A. I know, I'm sorry, that's just how I do. But, No, 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 no. You got to understand something. I don't care.
But we do.
No, but hold on. Hold on. If we
Come on, man.
Back to order. If it doesn't come to order, ask for a motion to go to closed session and get out of here.
There's only one seat here.
Can we please have order? I believe there's one more comment left. I believe there's one more public speaker.
You need to get checked. He's the president.
If I can have everybody sit and we can bring the meeting back to order. Everybody have a seat. Everybody have a seat, please. I'm going to meet with you afterwards. Can everyone have a seat?
The young lady, Miss McLean, she asked the officers, could they please go back to the wall?
I'm not answering the question. Because it's not the forum for that.
Asking you a question and you just started, but then when I said your officers wouldn't go to the wall, you shut me up.
Ma'am,
But why is she
if we
always
cannot bring the meeting back to order, I'm going to ask,
And then you got this
please have a seat.
So guess what I'm gonna say
Okay.
to y'all?
Yeah, I think we have to move
Can I
to
have
adjourn.
a motion to adjourn the meeting and
Adjourn to closed session.
adjourn to closed session? Have a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Is that what's
The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item number 5A1 and 2 in accordance with Government Code 54957.
Follow his orders. He's supposed to be vice president. You're supposed to be president. Look at him. What kind of public official flips off the public, tells them to shut up, and then tells his fellow...
Session. The Executive Director will report out.
Mr. President, members of the Commission, for the public, as it relates to item 5A1, case number 084-15, the Commission's decision was as to tactics. Tactical debrief 2 police officer 2s, unanimous. As to drawing and exhibiting in policy, 2 police officer 2, unanimous. As to lethal use of force, 1 police officer 2, out of policy, vote 4-1. 1 police officer 2, out of policy, vote unanimous. As to item number 5A2, case number 085-15, that's correct. 085-15 as to tactics. 1 police officer 3 out of policy. 1 police officer 1 tactical debrief. That was a 4-1 vote. As to drawing and exhibiting, 1 police officer 3 in policy, 1 police officer 1 in policy. As to lethal use of force, 1 police officer 3 out of policy, 1 police officer 1 in policy. And that concludes the report.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
We have a motion.
So
We have a
moved.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.